For decades, we've all been told the same things. Differentiate or die, and obsess over brand loyalty. But what if all of that is just wrong? Today, we're going to dive into the evidence-based science of how brands actually grow, and let me tell you, it might just flip everything you think you know about marketing on its head. Okay, so here's the game plan. First, we're going to take a hammer to two of marketing's most sacred ideas. Then, once the ground is clear, we'll build up a totally new way of thinking, all powered by something called the availability engine. And finally, we'll wrap up with a brand new playbook you can actually use. Let's get into it. All right, first up, let's talk about the big one, the golden rule, differentiation. You know the drill, you've got to carve out that unique spot in your customer's brain to have any chance of success. But here's the thing, does the data actually back that up? Just think about it for a second. In your own company, how much time, how much energy, how much money gets poured into trying to be different from everyone else? It's seen as absolutely fundamental, right? Well, let's see what the science has to say. Okay, this slide, this is a big one. It basically lays out the old school way of thinking versus this new evidence-based view. See, on the left, you got the old world. We were obsessed with positioning, trying to persuade some perfectly rational person that we were different and better. But the new view? It's all about salience, which is just a fancy way of saying being the first thing that pops into a totally distracted customer's head. It's a subtle but huge shift. It's not about differentiation, it's about distinctiveness. Can people recognize you in a split second? And you're not trying to persuade them of anything, you're just refreshing their memory. That right there is a total game changer. All right, myth number one is down. Let's move on to the second sacred cow, this whole cult of brand loyalty. You've heard it a million times, right? It's cheaper to keep a customer than get a new one, that all your growth is going to come from making your current buyers superfans. But, again, what does the data actually say? So let's get real and look at some hard numbers. This is for washing powder in the UK. You got the big guys like Persil at the top, smaller brands like Surf at the bottom. Pretty standard stuff. But now, look all the way to the right at that purchase frequency column. That's basically how we measure loyalty. And what do you see? It's pretty much the same number all the way down, 3.9, 3.8, 3.7. The loyalty is practically identical, whether you're the biggest brand or one of the smallest. And this isn't a fluke. This actually demonstrates a scientific law in marketing, and it's called double jeopardy. It means that smaller brands kind of get hit twice. First, and this is the big one, they just have way fewer buyers. And second, that small group of buyers they do have, they're also just a tiny bit less loyal. But look, the difference is so small it's barely there. It's totally predictable. So here's the big takeaway from all this. Growth is not about finding some secret sauce to make your customers more loyal than your competitors' customers. It's much simpler than that. Growth comes from getting more customers, period. It's all about penetration, the sheer size of your customer base. Okay, so if the old maps are wrong, if differentiation and loyalty aren't the answer, then where the heck do we go? What's the real way to grow a brand and grab more market share? Well, the proof is pretty staggering, actually. When researchers looked at hundreds of huge marketing campaigns, they found something incredible. The campaigns that focused on penetration, on getting new customers, were over 5 times more likely to drive massive business growth compared to the ones that focused on loyalty. 5 times. And this is the fundamental truth right here. You're not going to grow by doubling down on a tiny little niche of superfans. You grow by becoming more popular. It's about reaching out and grabbing tons and tons of new buyers. And guess what? Most of them are going to be light, occasional customers. And that's okay. At the end of the day, growth is a numbers game. It's a game of reach. Okay, so the goal is clear. Get more buyers. The million-dollar question is, how do you actually do that? Well, the answer is all about building 2 super critical assets. This is the real engine of brand growth. So forget everything you've heard about chasing loyalty or finding that one unique selling proposition. The real engine is way more fundamental. It's about how we as humans actually shop and make choices in the real world. The first part of that engine is something called mental availability. This isn't about being different. It's simply about being easy to think of. When somebody's in a buying situation, does your brand just pop into their head? And you build this by creating these really strong, distinctive memory cues. Things like your colors, your logo, that jingle they can't get out of their head. It's all about being salient. Okay, so that's part 1. Part 2 of the engine is physical availability. This is the other equally important half of the equation. Because look, it doesn't matter if someone thinks of you if they can't actually buy you. If they can't find you on the shelf, or your website is a pain to use, or you don't ship to them, that sale is gone. Poof. You have to be easy to find and easy to buy. Period. Wherever they are, whenever they're ready. And this is the secret to why availability is so incredibly powerful. See, we like to think we're marketing to these super rational people who spend hours researching which toothpaste to buy, but we're not. The reality is, we're marketing to what the research calls uncaring cognitive misers. That's all of us. We're busy, we're distracted, we don't try to find the absolute perfect choice. We do something called satisficing. We just pick a good enough option so we can move on with our lives. We all use mental shortcuts. And what's the ultimate shortcut? Choosing the brand that's easiest to think of and easiest to buy. So, okay, we've torn down the old myths, we've built up this new engine. What does this all mean for your actual marketing strategy? Basically, it means you gotta toss out the old playbook. It's time for a new set of rules, and every single one is focused on one thing: relentlessly building your mental and physical availability. This quote from Byron Sharp, who literally wrote the book on this stuff, just nails it. This should be your new North Star for everything you do. Ask yourself, does this new ad campaign make us easier to think of? Does this new partnership make us easier to buy? And if the answer to both is no, you really have to ask yourself why you're even doing it. So here's what the new to-do list looks like. First, you got to reach all the buyers in your category, not just some tiny niche. You have to be easy to buy. You need to get noticed and be memorable. And you do that by constantly refreshing those memory structures, using your distinctive assets, your colors, logos, characters, over and over again. This is what smart, sophisticated mass marketing looks like today.
So I guess that's the question I want to leave you with. In a world full of distracted people just trying to get through their day, is being different really going to cut it? No. The real goal is to be unmissable, to be so easy to think of and so easy to buy that you become the default choice. That is how brands really truly grow.